Well, here we are back. It's another episode of our SoundTraxx Soundbites podcast. So let's start it off properly. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you are out there. It's time for another episode of SoundTraxx Soundbites. This is the SoundTraxx podcast, subnamed Train Talk for Milepost 141.
Right.
So we're here post-holidays. Wow, that was a blur.
Yeah, I know. The whole year went by fast. It's like started, June came around. I showed up here, and then next thing you know, it's 2026.
I know. Isn't it fun? It's a whole different mentality when you're not really working per se. When you're having fun.
Right. You're having fun. Talking trains, solving problems about trains, talking about putting decoders in trains.
Exactly. It's all fun. It's all there, and we're having a great time.
Yeah. And see, now I don't have to explain to people like, what are you thinking about? I'm thinking about trains. They don't look at you like, what? Because like in my other job, if I'd said, what are you thinking about? I'm thinking about GP15s and SoundTraxx Bunami. And they're like, the heck's wrong with you?
Right.
Now it's like, well, good. That's what you should be thinking about.
Yeah, exactly. Right. So, well, anyway, so we're back. I want to wish everybody Happy New Year. Hope you guys had a great Christmas, Happy New Year, Happy Holidays, all that fun stuff. But now it's ready to get back. And, one of the things that always points out to me, I notice, especially in our hobby, is prior to Christmas, a lot of people are out, spent time running around, getting presents for everybody else, all their friends, their family, all that stuff.
Right.
January, it's time for me.
Right.
We're buying trains for me.
That's right. We've used the December while we were out doing that. We were out scoping out what we're going to get.
Exactly. While we're buying stuff for everybody else. Right. Oh, I want one of those, but I'll wait till after.
Right.
So now it's time for us.
That's right. You got it.
So that's a good thing. So, but anyway, you'll notice there isn't a whole lot of stuff on the table. I'll take a part of the blame because as of right now, I don't have anything finished. I spent most of the holidays operating and running trains.
Right.
So I wasn't really working on a whole lot. So that's it was a good and bad thing both at the same time. I'll put a couple of clips of running on my home layout here over the picture. If you're watching it in video, if you're listening, you'll hear train noises. Just imagine you're operating on my layout.
Right.
But anyway, I spent most of the time doing that, so I didn't get any projects done. I know last podcast we had talked about me working on my caboose, and I got it, decaled, but I didn't finish putting it together.
Right.
And I decided I'm just going to leave it at home. I'll finish it and bring it out as a finished product. And that way I can show all the details of everything I did to it and talk about it. So don't have much. But you don't have anything either.
No, I've been working on I'm close on the NW2. The Walthers NW2 with the custom decals and the Bunami 1100. Now that those are in stock, I could, or they were in stock, I can finish that up. I've got a few more things to do on it. Then I'll bring it in so we can see it, run and operate it.
That'll be fun.
The SW1200, still working on it a little bit. It hasn't got to the paint shop yet. And then that GP15 I had last summer or last fall, that's close too.
Okay.
I've also been working on the layout a little bit. It's just a microcosm of what it was going to be, but it's something to get something running now and to test run engines and at the same time do some switching. That's
awesome. So you moved out here in June and you didn't have a layout with you, so you're building all this right now, correct?
Right. Yeah.
So for those of you watching on video, we've been inserting some pictures of Tom's layout as it stands right now.
Right.
So that way you can kind of see what he's been working on. And one of the things that I always notice, and you notice too, is a lot of people always want to focus on the big layouts. They want the big ones where they run 40-car trains. They want to run, they want 30 people operating and stuff like that. But honestly, you can get almost just as much fun out of a small switching layout, like yours or mine.
Right.
Mine I've expanded a couple of times. I've got right now right at 70 linear feet.
It's a pretty good size layout.
It's pretty good size. Then I can run, 2 to 3 trains, but I don't really want to run 2 to 3 trains at the same time. I want to run rule 1, go out on the branch line and go do the work and then come back.
Well, there's a lot to be said for that. The branch line operations, the first person besides your layout, of course, when you started this years ago, I immediately was gravitated to your layout. And of course, another fellow Mopac modeler, Charlie Duckworth, had a great Bagnall branch. And there is something to the branch, and that's what I'm going to focus on as I reboot my layout completely. Is in West Frankfort, Illinois, my hometown, I want to always include the yard and the town, of course, downtown. But I also I mainly want to focus on that branch. It was 17 miles long. It had 2 coal mines on it. I've got the Exactro cars, and hopefully maybe more Exactro cars on the way in the future. We'll see.
Yeah,
we'll see how that goes.
We'll see.
We're hoping for it anyway.
We keep bugging them. Yeah,
we're going to keep bugging them, and you guys should too. But Mopac. But the branch line itself. 25 to 40 cars. 40 cars would be the max on a scale version of it.
Yeah.
A scaled down version might be 20. That's still pretty good size. 10. So to get the look of what the coal mine would be, 10 to 20 cars would be fine. And going down that branch line, I'm thinking like now I've had time to reflect while I've been working here, and I'm thinking then maybe when I do get the permanent place for it, instead of expanding that entire Joppa sub layout all the way down to Joppa like I had before. It's in the January 2024 model Railroader, the original plan for it.
Okay.
If you guys want to thumb back to that issue, if you have those issues or back issues. But what the article was called Mopac in an Attic is what it was called.
Okay,
I remember that was the layout. That was the idea. And it was based on having the town and the coal mines and the interchange at Benton, Illinois with the Illinois Central Gulf. But now I may scale it back to just the mines themselves, because like I said, operating on George's layout, I ran 3 trains and it was 3 hours, almost 4 hours. I mean, that's more than enough pressure for me. And we operated prototypically. I mean, I did overrun a couple of yard limit signs. I got 30 days off for that. But other than
I think that's expired by now.
Yeah, it is. That's what. Now I'm back. I can get back in behind the throttle at the layout. But anyway, we had a great time running them, and it really kind of opened my eyes to that. And of course, using SoundTraxx decoders to do, with your locomotives, gives you that realistic operation and superior motor control that you can accomplish these things. So when you run into the mine on this new layout, you'll run around your train and then shove your cars into the empty tracks and then come back around the front and then what they call the pull track and then assemble your train. And then of course we, having ridden with those people a few times when I was a teenager, we pre-blocked those trains because the coal mines, even though they had 3 or 4 different tracks, those were different sizes of coal rock, so they went to different places. Some would go to some steel mills, some would go to power plants, based on the size of the coal rock. So we would pre-block those before we took them back to the yard to ship them north to Chicago.
You just said that. That's something a lot of people don't realize, that coal trains just aren't a regular coal train. Like you said, there's different sizes of rock for the purpose, stuff like that. So when you're modeling it, that's a really neat detail to add in. Absolutely.
Well, in an older style tipple, like the Illinois tipples that I model, there's 5 tracks, 4 tracks, and each different track was a different size of rock. So when we pulled those cars, and I went with them, I say they did the work, I watched. But when they pulled the cars, Missouri Pacific pulled them, they blocked those right there at the mine. And then they'd have them set aside, like 25 going to Inland Steel in Chicago, 25 going to Joppa Electric Energy in Joppa going south. And then they would take those down to the siding south of town and leave those cars because they wouldn't take them all the way back to the yard and then run them 4 miles again down south. They just leave them right there for the local train to come through and pick up to take to Joppa. So, but the other ones went back to West Frankfort to the yard. Well, I'm going to try to replicate that. In the meantime, here I'll just have the mine, and then I'll be simulating with an off staging off right now to say it's going back to Frankfurt or it's going to Joppa. But either way, or it's going to the siding, south of town there. But then basically you'll be moving the cars around, both with the NW2 and the GP15s can come in and then pull the entire train out of there. The NW2 can move them under the tipple for you.
Sure.
So
that's cool. Well, I haven't seen it yet, so I'm excited. I can't wait to get out there and come over and see it. But it's good to see you got progress. You also mentioned, Charlie Duckworth. Have you been to his layout yet?
I've never been to it. I've only seen it in the magazine and talked to him personally.
I got to go once, and it was a lot of fun. The magazines don't ever do it justice. No. Charlie's a hell of a modeler, SoundTraxx user.
Yes.
And he's also a Mopac guy, and man, that layout's done really well.
Scenery was incredible on it. It really captured the feel of the small town and the branch line, and that, like I said, that to me, that's that to me is the way to go.
Yeah, absolutely. So for those of you watching on video, I've been posting some pictures of when I visited a few years back. So you get to see some of Charlie's work there.
And I'm not knocking, guys. We're not knocking the giant layouts here. We're not knocking.
No, not at all.
I'll come run your 35 by 70 layout any day.
Well,
it'd be great. But I mean, I like the branch line. I like that too.
And my plan eventually, once I get my permanent building built up, is going to be one of those layouts that will run 35, 40 car trains.
Yeah, the White River.
The White River route coming from southern Missouri, northern Arkansas, coming out of Kansas City. You get up to Independence Hill, come over the hill, that's your ruling grade. And I think it was 2.5%, something like that. And then once you got out of there, it was just easier for them to just run the train all the way through.
Right.
And that would come in down through Branson and over towards Calico Rock, Arkansas, and then it would connect at Diaz.
Right.
And from Diaz, then it would intersect the line coming from St. Louis to Little Rock, and
Hoxie sub.
Yep, and it would just go straight down to Little Rock, and it was a busy bridge line. There wasn't a lot of online traffic, but my layout will have a little bit more online generated traffic, just to give me the opportunity to go out and operate the trains and run the small branch line type trains, the locals.
Yeah, the locals, and they ran with 4-axle power, and which is cool. And they had a beautiful picturesque, used to be a swing bridge at Cotter over the river, the White River there.
Yep.
And that's a neat thing to have. And now with 3D printing, you can even replicate that exact if you want to.
Yep.
But yeah, I'm not knocking the big layouts. I think they're great. Like I said, I may do the same thing, but I might also just have my hometown, West Frankfort, and then have that mine maybe closer to that entire branch to scale.
Yeah.
So you're running, I don't think I could run 17 scale miles, but I mean, I would run as close as I get to it.
Well, I think I did the math one time. So the 70 linear feet is right at 1 scale mile.
Right. So no, I'm never going to have a football field to run the mine branch in.
Right.
And plus, you get older, you're not going to want to walk 300, 400, 500 yards behind, walking beside your train. I mean, it's going to take all the fun out of it when you're wore out. But at any rate, it's fun to get those scenes, and like you're talking about the signature scenes, those things, and you're building a miniature time machine anyway. So
yeah, absolutely. And it was funny because we were talking about this because what was it, a day or two ago, I just mentioned to you, I got those 3 Jeep 38s sitting in my office, and I said, I really wish there's times I had a bigger layout just to run a nice 45 car grain train with those Jeep 38s on the point, passing something to Coltrane next to it with the SD40s and the U30Cs on it. Just mainline railroading, it's always fun too.
It is. It's a lot of fun. And you picked an excellent subject because the White River is one of the best kept secrets of the Missouri Pacific. It's not secrets to us, Mopac guys, but to a lot of people that think of Mopac as Flatlands Rail, you need to see the White River because it's got tunnels, it's got bridges, it's got huge tall steel viaducts that are really neat looking too. So it'll be a beautiful rendition. I know it will when you do it.
Yep. So. And Kevin Udaly did a great article originally in the CTC Board magazine.
Right.
But he was complaining because he was abbreviated on what he could talk about, so he cut out half the article to fit what they had it given him. And then later on, when he took over White River, he's got Railroads. Railroads Illustrated, where he printed his full article.
Yes.
Which even had track diagrams and everything along the bottom of the page.
Yeah.
More pictures.
I think I got like 3 copies of that one too. So I got a couple to thumb through and one to keep. It's, But it's excellent. Kevin's he's a White River aficionado. I mean, he loves the White River and shot a lot of his pictures while he was going to college out there, and beautiful shots.
Yep. So if you're interested in that line, there's some good stuff. There's also a book about it.
Yeah.
But I think it was published in like the 50s or 60s somewhere, really before the diesel era took over.
Right.
And then as the mergers came in, they just got to the point where they could just abandon it, because with the Katy, the purchase of the Katy in '88, they basically had duplicate trackage that didn't have that 2% grade.
Right.
So they could run trains a little bit more efficiently on that. So it basically made the White River route obsolete.
Yeah, basically like what Kevin Love said, they could take, instead of 5 or 6 SD40s, they could run the same coal train over the Katy with 3. So less fuel, less engines, less grade, less headaches.
And wear and tear, because I mean, in the articles that we talked about, there was times where they were talking about constantly breaking knuckles.
Yeah.
So it's you always want to go as flat as you can, especially in railroading for efficiency. So
Right.
I'm looking forward to it. I kind of have an idea of what I want to do in my mind, but I just got to get the footprint. I've got the property now, which I have room for. I just got to come up with the funds to be able to build that building in the back, to
Right.
be able to build it and have the electricity where I want it, and do a double level mushroom style layout.
Mushroom styles are excellent.
Oh yeah. So, well, with that, we want to talk about some upcoming shows we've got. As you're seeing this, either this weekend that you're seeing this or very soon thereafter, we'll be in Florida. We're going to be at the Prototype Rails, which is the Cocoa Beach RPM. This is one of my favorite shows to do. People come from all over the country. I mean, who doesn't want to come to Florida in January? It's cool. It's warm, but it's cooler. You're not blistering 100 degrees and
Right.
100% humidity.
It's a snowbird show.
It's a snowbird show by far, but there's a lot of collection of manufacturers show up, a handful of retailers show up, but people come from all over the country. As a matter of fact, the clinic coordinator actually lives out in California, and then we see a lot of regular from Chicago area and up in the north. So it's a really fun show, really good one. And so if you're in the area, come over and see it. Come see what a Cocoa Beach RPM is all about. It's a lot of fun, and it's nice and small, so there's a lot of time to spend time talking to your favorite manufacturers like SoundTraxx at the show, so we can really have those conversations, help you one-on-one. And then it'll seem quickly on its heels. We got the Amherst show coming up in Massachusetts, and that's going to be on the 24th and 25th of January. Up in Massachusetts. It'll be West Springfield, Massachusetts at the Big E. This will be your first time to ever go.
Right.
And so I've told people, and this is the truth, in 17 years, this will be my 17th trip, and I've yet to see the whole show.
I can believe it. That's what a guy would call. I talked to a guy who'd asked if we were going last month if we were going to go, and I said, yeah, we'll be up there. And he said, have you ever been? I said, no. And he said, you're going to be busy.
Yeah.
He said it's gonna be madness.
Well, and that's part of the thing is like we're so busy at our booth, we're talking to people, and people are asking questions. I mean, I remember there's been times where I've seen 3 or 4 people deep waiting, so I'm trying to hurry up and get through this question so I can get to the next guy and get to the next guy, or and whatever. And that's part of why I've never seen the whole show, because if I do anything, like for example, this time I'm going to get some stuff from the. I can't remember his name suddenly now that I'm trying to bring it out. I don't know why. You put a camera in front of me and my brain goes blank. It was Buster Keaton and the General, and it was William Fuller was the conductor. But anyway, that was the last podcast. Not the last one, the one before. But anyway, but you put a camera on me, I can't remember. But anyway, the Southern Grain guy, he does a bunch of 3D printing stuff. He's also got the steel mill modeler supply.
Right.
I got to get a few things for him so I can finish that grain elevator scene in the corner.
Right.
Because I want to make that look really good, and I want to have an operating car puller.
Right. Oh yeah.
That'll be fun.
Yeah.
But I got to have the casting to do that, and he's got it. And every time I ask him, he's like, "Oh, I just already sold out, or I didn't bring any." I'm like,
"So you're gonna pull it with like a cable?"
Yeah.
Yeah.
So what I'm going to do, what I usually do at this show is I'll pre-order stuff and have it pulled, ready to go, paid for. And about the only time I get to leave the booth is either if I got to hit the facilities or go get my stuff.
Right.
And I get my stuff usually on Sunday afternoon when it starts slowing down a little bit. But you'll appreciate the Amherst, and we'll try to get you some time to walk around. But don't hold your breath.
No, I'll be glad just to be there and get to see things and see people. Yeah, people talked. Like I said, like last month before Christmas, right before Christmas, they were looking forward to me coming up there with us and seeing all of us and Nancy. They love it when we visit. So I'm looking forward to seeing you guys and meeting you in person. So we'll see you there.
Sounds good. So with that, we're going to talk a little bit about one of the topics that have been asked about by customers on a regular basis here. And one of them has to do with wire management when it comes to installing decoders into your models. If we're, you and I both are kind of the same way where we start adding more lights, we start doing, and then you end up with all these wires. So like say for example, let's use the cab of a typical EMD. You got 2 small LEDs for the headlight, so there's 4 wires.
Right.
Then you got 2 small wires for your number boards, and there's 4 more wires, so that's 8. And then you start factoring in something like rotary beacons or anything like that. That could be 1 or 2, 2 or 4 more lights depending on what you have. If you got strobes, and then you got class lights or nose lights. All those wires got to come through.
Right.
And you start looking at it, and you just shove everything in and cram the shell on. Not only do you have loose wires that potentially can catch or rub against your mechanism, but it also can cause other damage. And so one of the things we've been asked about is wire management. How do we handle it in? So I'm going to go ahead and let you kind of talk about, because it looks like you've got a couple of pieces of what look to be styrene tubing that you can talk about. And
well, like George said, we've had a lot of questions about the wire management. Like I said, I got a lot of the stuff, like watching some of George's videos. If you go back and view our videos on the SoundTraxx YouTube page, he uses another thing I didn't bring with me is flexible, or shrink tubing, and uses CA to glue it to the roof in there. But anyway, he'll decide where he wants the wires to go and how much. And it allows you also to leave the extra length of wire. Like a lot of you notice SoundTraxx, we give quite a bit. We're very liberal with the wire we put in our decoders with our wiring harnesses for that reason. So you can, if you don't cut it too short. In this case, with wire management, you don't want to. You want to use as much wire as you can. But what I've got here is a couple of things. These are both evergreen styrene. This is a number 252 square tubing. This is a 125 thousandths or 3.2 millimeter. It's a square tube. I like the square tubing. I've kind of gravitated to it because it fits flat on the inside of the shell when you cut it to length. And I'll cut several different lengths. Like George was saying, when you decide where your wires are going to go. Like if I'm going to run, like there is an article coming out in RMC. It's a GP15. Imagine that! Surprise!
What?
Yes, I know.
For you?
I know, a blue one.
Oh,
a
wow.
blue Mopac one. But it has wire management as part of the article, and it will show you in the pictures there of how, for instance, the step lights on this engine. This engine has step lights too. They run up the back and go across the top of the roof, and they'll go through one of these little short tubes, to get it to where I need it to. It keeps it up out of the way, away from the mechanism, away from the speaker, away from anywhere it can possibly cause problems, electrical or mechanical. And then the front, like George said, you go through the cab on a Jeep, on an Athearn Genesis GP15 or any of their Dash 2 style cabs. They got a nice little wire channel right there made for you with the interior, the electrical, the electrical part behind the cab.
Yeah, and then they got those little nubs on the inside of the cab where they put the wires through, and what they'll do is they'll put a little dab of some sticky something or another and then just press the wires into it.
Yeah, and what I'll do is like that, I'll just go right behind that with this thing, and then I'll run. What I usually do is run my wires through it first. It's a lot easier, believe me, I've done it the other way too, where if you glued it up there and then you're like taking a pair of tweezers and trying to feed it through there, I would rather just run the wire through there and then glue it up where I want it. Then I can get it exactly where I want it, and then no problem. But you cut this thing to length. These are cheap. You get 3 of them. Just a couple dollars. It's still a couple dollars. I think you can even get these at Hobby Lobby too.
I've seen those at Hobby Lobby. So when you're gluing those up, do you use CA or do you use the plastic cement?
I use plastic cement.
Okay.
I use like the Bondine.
Yeah, okay.
Bondine is what I use.
Yep.
Or what's the other one stuff? The other stuff called that we use 10X. I use that
10X,
too.
yeah.
Yep, I use that too.
If you can find it anymore.
Right, you can find it.
Because 10X is more or less gone. So there's another styrene tacket 2 or something like that, which is they originally came out as same stuff. It's made by JMD.
Yeah, Micromark carries it too.
Yep. So, but my reason for asking for that is because, like, for example, when I'm using the shrink tubing, one of the reasons I like to use the shrink tubing is because it can also collapse if there's tight fit. So let's say, for example, you've got a speaker or let's say a weight, and I put the tube there, that tube can compress a little bit, and still have enough room for the wires, whereas this is a hard thing.
Right.
But in order to do that, I do have to put the dab of CA on there because you don't want to get CA on the wires and have it stuck inside the tube. So it's really just a matter of time. But I've had many a night sitting there trying to thread these wires into the tubes after they've been glued, and it's not for the faint of heart.
No,
but it's just time consuming and more just how steady is your hand if you can't get in there with a pair of tweezers. And then sometimes I've had it where I'll get it started and then I'll go back to grab the wire to push it and it pulls the whole wire out. I'm like, come on, you're killing me.
And I'll use this. I use the shrink tubing too. That's the idea behind it. Also, as I started it with George's videos, I like the shrink tubing also because of that, because it is collapsible and it does also it makes like a little vise, but it's a gentle squeezing of the wire and instead of a pinch.
Yep.
So,
and this is unshrunk heat shrink tubing, by the way, folks.
Right.
This is not, we're not putting it in there and then heat shrinking it down, because
get too close to your
could
shell.
in theory do that. But if you're up against the shell and you're trying to heat shrink that down, you could damage the shell real easily. But that's why it remains flexible. It's because it's unshrunk, so it's still
right. And when you put the shell down on it, the wires are still held in place. They're where you want them. And then, like George said, when you put it down, let's say you got a scale sound system speaker back there, or you got 4 SoundTraxx
cube speakers,
the mini cubes on there. It's just going to push down nice and easy there, and not not be like this. Where this is basically goes up where I got plenty of. I use this like behind the cab and the electrical cabinet, because I know I got plenty of vertical space there between that and any Athearn Genesis engine that I'm working on, or Walthers or anything like that. I know this is where I got maximum space, so I'll use the tubing.
Yeah, and one thing I like about this too is that you can actually fit it up in the corner of the shell, and therefore it's really out of the way. Instead of putting it right in the middle, you can probably even completely miss the speaker,
right? And
it tucks it away. And then using this, you can cut it as long or as short as you need. With the heat shrink tubing, this goes back years ago. The stuff I've got, I had a friend of mine, I was probably either late teens or early 20s when he gave me this, was a bag like this of these small little pieces of heat shrink tubing.
Right.
And I still have them left over.
Yeah.
Which is, just imagine how many are in there. But so they're short little pieces. They're only about 1 inch long.
Right.
So if I want to do, like say from the, we'll say the top of the long hood to the middle where the decoder's at, or where the wires are going to come to the decoder, then I'm building a couple, 2, 3 of them, so it kind of creates a loom effect. Or in the case of something like this, you could just put one that's the whole length, cut it, tack glue it up in place, and then just run the wires through it.
Right, and it does, like, you can make a custom size, or wherever you want to put it. Like I've done it, depending on like you're saying, I put it to the side, and then for the wire management for the step lights, for instance, I did exactly that. I put it back there by the radiators on the side of the shell, and that way you just ran it right in the corner. It's out of the way, and it comes right across the top, goes right down to the board.
And then when you're actually going through and doing your installation, you can decide, you can put, like, say for example, the headlights through one tube. Then you can have another tube next to it that are for the number board lights. Then you can have another one next to it for the class lights, let's say, or whatever you want to do. So that way you can quickly go back. Like say for example, you get it all done, you put it together, and of course one of the LEDs goes out. Right. Well, now because you've separated those wires, it's a lot easier for you to go in and unthread it through, because you're not gluing it into this. This is just, it slides right through it. So you can pull that LED back out, put the new one in, rethread it through. You're done in a few minutes, as opposed to...
Or you've got a broken wire. Like I've had a broken, like the red common wire broken on one. What's going on? Why are they not coming on? And instead of having it all jammed in one thing, I've got 3 of them there side by side. So I was like, okay, well there it is. I can see it's a broken wire, and I can fix it just like that.
Yeah, makes it nice and quick.
And I dropped it. This other thing we've got here is another piece of stuff. This is Plastruck. This is number 223, 332nd tube styrene. And this is you can use this for the same thing. This will fit up in the corner too, because it's round. But the other thing, main thing I use this for is the truck lights, for like the engines that don't have them. As I got tired of breaking my small bits, drilling it with a drill press into the metal, so I use this outside diameter is 3/32 of an inch. So you can go to the hardware store, and actually get a carbide drill bit, 3/32, drill down into your frame. And then this thing will slide right up in there, nice and tight. And then it's a tube, so you can run your wires, and they run in there, and this acts like a little conduit. So instead of the wires, if you're using magnet wire or whatever you want to use, they don't touch the frame at all. They go inside this plastic tube. And I've used it for that as well. And you can also do the same thing in the front, the nose, the short hood. When you're running your lights up there, you can put it right in the corner. Put it right up there, and then run your lights through that too.
Absolutely. And the other thing is that, you talked about magnet wire. If you're drilling that, sometimes there might be a slightly sharp edge that's on the inside. If you've got your wire coming around that edge, and even if it's slightly loose, let's say it's kind of loose and maybe touches or is near your truck, as your truck turns and rotates, that wire could move and eventually cut it out. And so this protects as an insulator because the plastic is going to be a whole lot less on there. But the other thing is that sometimes I'll use, like in a case of this where I'll put this through, I've done the shrink tubing, I've done this too through the frame like you're talking about for the ground lights, truck lights. But then usually what I'll do is once the light is glued in place and the wires come up, I'll put a dab of that microscale crystal clear. Because that's more or less pliable and removable. Or you can use silicone, that works too. And then you can go through the conduits and put the wires where you need them to go. But there's been more than one time where I've had to use the microscale crystal clear because maybe there isn't enough room for, like, say this on the part of the weight that's right behind the cab. But I need the wires to go up behind the cab. Like you talk about that cab interior that Athearn has with the little notch out the top. Sometimes I may not have room between that and the cab for these tubes. So you can put a little bit of that microscale crystal clear so that it's removable as opposed to using super glue, which if you use super glue and then trying to tear it off, you may as well just, in some cases, scrap the whole thing.
Or put acetone to it to dissolve it. And then that's
but then that opens up a whole nother can of worms.
Your plastic in there. But these things, so these little things help you a lot. And they're besides the fact that, people built stuff with them for years. I mean, I've always used them for this kind of stuff. And mainly that's what I use my stuff for, is like these things. I'll buy styrene tubing. It's for custom installs or things like that. Engines that I want to, engines that are factory, like the Jeep 15s that just came out, and the ACs that are hopefully coming soon. They'll get the truck lights too, and it makes it really simple to do it. And and like you said, it does protect it, and it acts like a little conduit. Because the magnet wire, if you use magnet wire, it's painted. The insulation's painted on. Like George said, if it touches metal, it gets in there, rubs, and knocks that insulation off, it's instant short if it hits that thing, and then you're sitting there like pulling your hair out, like what's going on? Like here with this, you kind of eliminate that possibility from happening.
I mean, ultimately, when you're doing your installations, you want to make it neat, you want to make it reliable, and it looks professional. So, I mean, take a few extra minutes, spend the time, use these tips. We did do a YouTube video talking about using the heat shrink tubing, but you could substitute the plastic tubing that you're talking about here easily in that. So be sure to check out that video to kind of get a feel for what we're talking about. I know during the presentation for video, we've been posting pictures of some of the close-ups of these wire management techniques over us talking. So if you want to see some of that, you can also go back and watch the video version if you're listening on audio, just to see some of those examples. But it really does, make your installation that much easier, and it's a little bit more time, but long term it's easier because, like we said, you can figure out, okay, these are the two wires for the headlight, instead of having to go in and probe them every time to make sure, which I still recommend testing them even after you're done, because then that way you can make sure they're working before you attach them to the decoder or to the decoder buddy or motherboard or whatever you're using. But this does help out, so it really does make it nice, clean, and a professional looking install. And then if you ever have to go back in and service it, it makes it so much faster and easier.
It does. It's an excellent point. You mentioned the decoder buddy. When you use the decoder buddy V5 with the little subboards, and you got all your lights through your tubes, albeit the square tubing, the round tubing, or the shrink wrap, it's so much nicer to pull that subboard off, and everything's all nice and tucked up there on the top of the shell, and you set the shell aside. So like George said, when you get ready to reassemble the locomotive, you simply can plug it in, and there's no wires to tuck up in there, and there's nothing to be jammed up in there in the motor. It's all away from your wiring, your electronics, your motherboard, your decoder board, and your speaker. It's all right up there away from the mechanism, and you put the shell back down, put your coupler screws in, and you're back on the rails.
There you go. Well, that's been an interesting conversation, so I hope you guys try that out. And if you have any questions or want to talk about it further, give us a shout, and either Tom or I will talk about it and help you out and give you some ideas, pointers, tips, whatever we can do. But I think this has been very helpful for you, and kind of helps explain how to make your installations, set them apart and make them easy and reliable, so you'll get many, many, many years of good use out of our decoders.
Yeah, and you don't want to get your wires crossed. See,
nope,
just to keep you from getting them wires crossed, and that's not a good thing.
Exactly. So, with that, I think we're pretty much close to the end. So, hopefully next time we'll have some more stuff to show you as far as projects we've been working on. Like I said, I think I got one side of my caboose deck decaled or deckled, depending on which terminology you want to use, or which.
I've heard decals, I've heard decals.
Yeah, it's always fun. We're not going to start that conversation here.
Tomato.
Exactly. So with that, we'll go ahead and close this out. Guys, thanks for watching. Hopefully this has been helpful and entertaining for you. If you have any comments, please leave them in the comments down below. And if you have any questions, feel free to call us. We're always here. We're happy to help answer anything we can, Monday through Friday, 9 to 5:30 Mountain Time. So give us a shout. Let us know. And we're here to help you. We want you to have successful and a fun time using SoundTraxx products. So with that, this is the Train Talk from Milepost 141. I'm George. This is Tom. And we'll see you guys next time.
Bye now.
Thank you.